I'm 93 years old, and there's one truth I waited far too long to understand. I'm not saying this to frighten you, and I'm not saying it for sympathy. I'm saying it because once you reach my age, honesty becomes more important than comfort. Sit with me for a moment. Have you ever assumed there would always be more time to fix things? Let me tell you who I am. I'm 93. I've lived through wars, recessions, revolutions in technology, and quiet personal losses that never made headlines. I've buried friends, family, and people I once thought would be in my life forever. And with every goodbye, I believed I was learning something. I wasn't, not completely. Most people think wisdom arrives gently, like a slow sunrise. It doesn't. It hits you suddenly, usually when you're no longer able to use it the way you wish you could. That's the cruel part. You think you understand life while you're living it. You don't. For years I told myself I was doing fine. I worked hard. I showed up. I handled responsibilities. From the outside, my life looked stable, respectable, even successful. But stability can be a dangerous place to fall asleep. Have you ever been so busy managing life that you forgot to actually feel it? I believe the big moments were what mattered. Promotions, weddings, milestones. I waited for those moments to feel alive, to feel grateful. What I didn't realize was how much life was slipping past me, quietly in between. Ordinary days, ordinary conversations, ordinary chances to be present that I treated like they would always repeat. The strange thing about time is this. It doesn't warn you when you're wasting it. It lets you believe everything is fine. You wake up, do what needs to be done, tell yourself you'll slow down later, and later slowly turns into never. Have you noticed how easy it is to live on autopilot? At 93, when the noise fades, what stays with you isn't what you achieved, it's what you missed while achieving it. The conversations you rushed, the people you half listened to, the love you assumed didn't need constant attention. That realization didn't come early in my life. It came painfully late. I need you to understand something before we go any further. The truth I'm about to share isn't complicated, but it's uncomfortable. And once you hear it, you'll start seeing your own days differently. Stay with me, because what I learned after decades of forgetting is the reason so many people reach the end of life with the same quiet regret. I didn't learn this lesson at 93. I learned it much earlier, and that's the part that still surprises me. I was in my 30s when life stopped me cold for the first time. Not with a warning, not with a slow decline, but with a single moment that split my life into before and after. Have you ever had a day that quietly changed everything? Someone I loved didn't come home one night. No argument, no goodbye, just absence. People spoke softly, used careful words, and told me it was sudden. What they didn't tell me was this: when someone leaves without warning, they take all your unfinished conversations with them. Every later, every not now. Have you ever thought about how heavy those unsaid words can become? That night, I made myself a promise. I promised I would never waste time again. I promised I would live more intentionally, love more openly, and stop opening the things that mattered. And for a while, I believed I had changed. I hugged tighter. I said I love you more often, but change is harder to hold than people admit. Life slowly pulled me back into routine. Work needed attention. Responsibilities returned. Days filled up. I didn't abandon my promise all at once. I drifted away from it quietly. That's how forgetting works. You don't decide to stop caring. You just start assuming there will be another chance tomorrow. Have you ever felt that slow drift without noticing it? Years pass. New relationships formed. Loss softened into memory, and I told myself I had learnt the lesson. I hadn't. I had only learned how to survive it. There's a difference. Surviving teaches you how to keep going. Understanding teaches you how to live. That understanding takes much longer to arrive. The cruel part is this. Every tragedy feels like it will change you forever. It doesn't. Not unless you actively return to the lesson again and again. Without realizing it, I slipped back into rushing, multitasking, half-listening. I was present in body, absent in attention. And attention, I learned too late, is where love actually lives. By the time I noticed what was happening, years had already disappeared. Ordinary evenings replaced by busy ones. Walks postponed. Conversations shortened. I didn't do anything terrible. I just didn't do enough of what mattered. And that's the kind of mistake that doesn't show up until much later. There is one simple truth I wish someone had forced me to face when I was younger. It sounds obvious, but it changes everything once you really see it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you next is the difference between growing old peacefully and growing old with a quiet, permanent regret. The truth is simpler than you expect, and that's why it's so easy to ignore. Life doesn't change because you understand it once. It changes only when you notice that you've forgotten and choose to return. I thought learning the lesson once was enough. It wasn't. Forgetting is human. Returning is the work. I used to believe presence required time, energy, and perfect conditions. It doesn't. It requires attention. Sitting with someone without planning your next task. Listening without preparing a reply. Looking at a face without checking a clock. Those moments don't announce themselves as important, but they are the ones you remember at the end. If I could go back, I wouldn't try to redesign my life. I wouldn't chase big changes. I would protect small moments fiercely. Tuesday evenings, slow walks, quiet breakfasts. I would choose patience over efficiency and connection over convenience. Have you noticed how often speed steals meaning? At 93, my world is smaller, but clearer. The noise has faded, and what remains is obvious. The value of a life isn't measured by achievements or busyness. It's measured by how often you were fully there for the people who shared your days. Everything else turns quiet eventually. If you're listening and someone comes to mind right now, don't dismiss it. That's not coincidence. That's awareness knocking. Don't promise yourself you'll act later. Later is a story we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. Comfort is cheap. Regret is expensive. I can't return to the days I sleepwalked through. But you can choose differently today. Not perfectly, not forever. Just today. Pay attention, say the thing. Stay a little longer. Those choices seem small, but they shape the life you'll one day look back on. If this story gave you something to think about, take a moment to like this video. It helps these stories reach others who may need to hear them right now. And if you want more honest reflections about life, aging, and the lessons we learned too late, consider subscribing. I'll keep sharing what time has taught me, while I still can.